Hello and welcome back to the Red and White Preview Show. Today, joining me, we have Sky Sports presenter, unfortunately no longer with the Tash, and Sunderland fan, Tom White. Tom, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, anytime.
And from Wigan, we have the host of the Full-Time Whittle podcast and Wigan fan, Jay Whittle. Jay, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's much appreciated.
Yeah. To get straight into it, Tom, not to go into too much detail, but a word on Tuesday, Burton. Do you think it was a fair result?
We looked very, very comfortable, but couldn't score. And then when they scored, we suddenly started piling a few more men forward. If we'd started on the front foot, I think we could have been. I think if we got an early goal, I think we actually could have killed them off by half time. I think we were a little bit too negative, but that's a criticism I've had a lot this season with the team selections. I think we probably just deserved to nick it by one, but in the end, we can't really complain because we didn't kill it off. We didn't even take the lead.
Yeah. Do you think it was just good game management from Burton? Really, obviously I think they came for the point really, but then when they got the goal, they shut up shop, and obviously we did break through in the end. But do you think it was just good game management that stopped us getting the win?
Yeah, I think they did. They had a plan which worked almost perfectly for them. If they'd actually ended up hanging on and getting the win, it would have been perfect. So yeah, I think that there is praise for them. I think we need to have one more attacking player on the pitch when we start the game. I think that is at the moment probably the one difference that I would make at the moment is take one of the defenders out and start with one more offensive player.
Yeah, I know you're not a huge fan of the three at the back system, which is definitely something we're going to get into in just a moment. For me, one thing that really bugged me was I think we were playing 3-4-3, but then the front three was made up of obviously the striker, which was Graham and then White, or other way around, sorry. And then Embleton, obviously Embleton's a creative player, but then Josh Scowen, who is a holding midfielder. That seemed to be our three most attacking players in the pitch. I don't know how you're going to really expect Josh Scowen to create a chance. Jay, we're going to get on to Wigan's season.
Yeah, Scowen should be playing.
What was that? Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, Scowen should be playing deeper.
Yeah, 100%. He's lost, I think, going forward. Jay, we're going to get on to Wigan's season so far, but excluding that, your last game, a 2-1 loss away to Lincoln. Obviously, it's not a good result, but Lincoln being one of the better teams in the league, was it that bad?
I think it was a really respectable performance, to be honest. We've got a really young side at the moment. Lincoln are a very solid team for the division. Just look at the players they've got at the moment. George Grant, who was the match winner on the day, he's an outstanding number 10 for this division, and I'm surprised he's not playing at a higher level. He may be playing at a higher level in the near future if Lincoln continue the form they're in. They're in second now, somewhere Sunderland probably aspire to be in the near future. But it was a really well-spirited performance. We had Cal Naismith back, who was out injured. He's one of the few, I say senior players, he's actually not that old, the more experienced players, and we're kind of hoping that we get a bit more experienced heads back in the side, because unfortunately last month we had quite a few of our main more experienced players out. Cal Naismith, Lee Evans, Curtis Tilt. I remember Matt Palmer also being cut tied for a fixture, so it's been quite tough this season. And to be honest, the Wigan fans before the game, we've had a bit of a siege mentality where we're going into games not really expecting anything, just hoping that lads are fearless and give their all for the shirt, because as fans and as journalists, that's all you can ask for, really, that the players put the effort in. And they've definitely done that this season. The one thing that can't be doubted is the effort levels.
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to ask you on, really. I know obviously there's an awful situation with the owners at the moment, but is there anything else you think that could have caused this negative start of the season? Is the manager getting the most out of the players? Now, I was going to ask you, are the players put 100% in, but you've just said they had. So is it purely down to the owners, the poor start of the season?
Yeah, I think it's just a mixture of everything, because we got so many young lads making the step up from academy football to senior football. It's a big difference. Obviously, the young lads naturally will make mistakes, and it's great for them in a way because they will learn from it. We've seen one player, Emi Karobe, in his debut against Ipswich Town on the opening day live on Sky Sports. He was playing right back, which wasn't his natural position. He's a centre half by trade, and he really struggled in that game, and he made two really big individual errors. But since that moment, he's got better and better, and that's been the case for a lot of players. We've had so many breakthroughs, so many young talents looking great, and I feel like the managers, the caretaker managers at the moment, Liam Richardson and Gregor Rioch, who is the head of academy, but he stepped up for the season. They've been excellent, really. They've got the best he can out of the players. They really install belief. I was speaking to Tom Pierce, who's been a standout this season yesterday, the former Leeds United left back, and he was singing the praises. His quote to me was, "I love Liam," and it's great to see. I think the situation at the moment is we're currently just waiting for a decision either way. The Spanish bidders are unnamed at the moment. They got exclusivity to buy the club almost 2 months ago now. I think it was actually 2 months ago yesterday. And to put it into perspective, the COVID vaccine has been approved, tested, and authorised in less time than the EFL have approved the takeover or made a decision. So I feel like it's getting a little bit of a Groundhog Day at the moment. We're kind of just waiting for that bit of hope, bit of relief that we have got an owner and hopefully secure our future for the long term. But until then,
on that, Jay.
Thank you. Can you say that again? Sorry, the audio.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? I've got some breaking news on that for you if you want.
Go on.
A decision on whether the group looking to take control of Wigan will be given the go-ahead to proceed expected later today. So probably by the time this podcast goes out. The EFL has been hearing the details of the bid by the Spanish business group, who were given preferred bidder status by the administrators currently running the club over 2 months ago. A supporters group has been in discussions with the potential new owners to be part of the deal going forward after they raised over £900,000 from donations from fans, but announced that they could not continue to work with the group last month. The EFL are expected to make a decision following its detailed due diligence process at a board meeting later today. Banker Jonathan Rowland is reported to be ready to step in should the Spanish bid not pass the EFL's owners and directors' criteria and fail in their attempt to acquire the club. So, decision today, and if the Spanish consortium isn't successful, you've got a banker ready to step in as well. So, I would say that is all positive.
Yeah, there's two options waiting in the wings. There is an unnamed Wigan group, well, not Wigan group, a group in Hong Kong represented by a Wigan businessman. He's been quite vocal in a local paper, and Jonathan Rowland is associated to Darren Royal, who was the previous owner under the International Entertainment Corporation. It'll be great to hear the decision either way today. I think that the main thing is that the club can finally move forward with the decision either way. And it's always nice that there's bidders waiting in the wings to hopefully save the club, because as you know, it's horrible when this happens to any football club.
Yeah, and I'm sure the noisy neighbours up the road will appreciate the little dig at the time it takes the EFL to get the takeovers through. Tom, one thing I want to ask you on, obviously Phil Parkinson was sacked on Sunday. You seem to be relatively on the fence when I watched the What the Folk podcast there with you and Danny, but do you think it was the right time?
The thing is, the problem was with Phil Parkinson was I had nothing against him whatsoever, by the way, nothing against him whatsoever. But I didn't ever. If I'd had a 30-person shortlist, he wouldn't have been on it when he got the job. So that immediately puts him at a disadvantage to the fact, and that was a lot of the fans' view as well. So that didn't help. He got off to a bad start and never really recovered. So, I mean, he would have had to go on an incredible run to win us over, and he just never did. So, I'm always a bit sad when a manager goes, because I always think, we should give managers more time. Going back all the way to Peter Reid leaving, I always thought that was too early. I thought that when Mick McCarthy went, he would have taken us back up. Even with Paolo Di Canio, I didn't realise what was going on behind the scenes, so I was a bit gutted about that. Now I hear about what went on behind the scenes. Maybe that's a bit different. But all of these managers, I always think, give them more time and they will eventually get it right. And Parkinson wasn't doing that badly. It just seemed like he didn't quite understand how big the club is and how much the fans care about the club as well. And he seemed to be a little bit relaxed about wherever we were in the league. We know we should have been higher up, and I didn't particularly like that. It's not that I was delighted or overjoyed that he went or anything, but I kind of saw it coming. And as long as we get this appointment right, I think it will end up being a positive thing for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean, but I think Parkinson's main fault really was like a lack of a plan B, where when plan A wasn't working, which was go out wide and put a cross in, we didn't have anything to revert to. One thing I noticed on Tuesday, especially when Maguire came on, was that we started playing a bit more centrally. Did you notice that or not?
Yeah, well, when he ends up with two strikers on, like he did end up with Graham and Grigg on, that would probably be the time to go out wide and put the ball in the box, because there's two strikers there. Maguire's also going to push up next to them, and also Maguire, if he's out wide, he's got a good cross on him. I didn't particularly notice that we went more centrally, but we were definitely actually trying to get the ball forward more. And Grigg hit the post, put another header just wide. But I don't see why we can't start like that and get the goal. And even then, if we got an early goal, I think we should keep going and try and kill the game off. I thought it was quite. I thought that I don't mind defensive tactics. In fact, I like it. I loved Allardyce and Poyet's style of play, where first of all you defend, then you let your attackers go and do their own thing. I've always been a big fan of that, but we didn't have enough attackers on the pitch to do their own thing.
Yeah, I think we struggle with link-up play, because I think you make the point, it's not even quality, it's simply volume, where we simply don't have enough attacking players on the pitch with the ability to create anything for them to like link up and do anything. And I know you said that you absolutely hate three at the back systems. If you could change it, what would it be? I mean, to me, one formation that really stands out to me was the one that we played in the Jack Ross 4-2-3-1. I think that's a really good complement of both defence and attack, and I think we've got the players to do it. Is there another formation in mind you would say?
Well, our best run under Jack Ross was 4-2-3-1 on paper, but actually it was 4-4-2, because Maguire was playing number 10 behind Madja, and Maguire was playing. It was 4-4-2. Maguire was playing with Madja, really. It's just when you write the formation down, it looks like it's 4-2-3-1. I like 4-4-2. 4-2-3-1 is fine. Actually, 4-3-3 with three deeper central midfielders, I don't mind that, because the fullbacks can get forward and the front three are actually properly attacking. You know, like we said there, if a front three of White, Embleton and Scowen, I think Scowen should be deeper. If whoever the manager is wants Ledbetter, Power and Scowen all to play, they can play in a 4-3-3, and you have three forwards. So let's say it doesn't really matter. Let's say it's White, Maguire and Gooch, if everyone's fit, of course. There's O'Brien who can go in there, Grigg, Graham. There's even obviously Embleton and Jack Diamond. You could actually do that if you want to be really solid in midfield. You can still have that and let either Power or Scowen still push forward, almost like a number 10, like a 4-2-3-1. But really, I just don't like three at the back. It's a very, very hard formation to learn how to play. And I understand that it's hard to play against. But if you can't play it yourself, it doesn't matter if it's hard to play against, because if you can't play it yourself, it's not going to work.
Do you not think that we did learn to play it ourselves, though, because we went on that? I mean, not that I'm saying we should keep doing what isn't working, because lately this season, things haven't been working. But do you not think that we did learn how to play it really when we went on that crazy run of, 8 to 10 games where we won almost every game?
Yeah, well, it was working for those games. Yeah, and I still wasn't a fan of it though. No one will ever get me to change my mind on the three at the back. As kids, no one ever plays three at the back as kids. Then suddenly you become a professional footballer and he has to play this formation that no one's ever heard of before. Everybody knows how to play four at the back, whether you're a fullback or a centre back. Everybody knows how to do it. It's been drummed into it since the first time they've kicked a football, or certainly in team football. So four at the back, and the rest, I'm not a huge fan of the diamond formation in midfield, if I'm honest. But
don't you leave yourselves open?
But I just don't like. I just don't like the three at the back at all, and you never know. Like Jordan Willis used to get a lot of praise, and rightly so, for the way he'd attack down the right hand side, even though he was playing on the right hand side of a back three. Well, in that case, play a back four and put him at right back. Then he's not getting out of position. I mean, I'd still put him at centre back and have someone else have O'Nien doing that job from right back. But if one of your best attacking outlets is the right-sided centre back of a back three, then that is a problem with the formation. There's nothing to be praised in that. That's a problem with the formation.
Yeah, do you not just think it's? I mean, I completely get what you're saying, but do you not just think it's like unpredictability where no team is expecting a centre back to go forward, but then if Willis can do it, it's going to throw them completely off. They're not going to expect it, and you can then create chances because of that.
You could do that in any formation, really. If you want your centre back to push forward and go down the right wing, then all right, it might surprise the opposition. It might surprise your teammates as well in a bad way, because you're stuck if he loses possession up there.
Yeah. I just thought it was worth asking. Speaking of right backs, Jay, I'm going to bring you in a minute or so. Speaking of right backs, though, Luke O'Nien looked as if he picked up a relatively bad shoulder injury towards the end of the game. If we were to go four at the back, who replaces him? Because to me, we've got two options where Dion Sanderson's came in, and to me, he's impressed us every time he's came in. He's looked very comfortable on the ball. He looks as if he can offer us a bit of something going forward, and he looks quite sound defensively as well. But a player to me who maybe isn't getting as much credit this season as he deserves, and although he's been playing centre back predominantly, is Conor McLaughlin. I feel as if he's really unrepresented, where he's not quite getting the credit that he deserves and how well he's done this season, mainly as a centre back. But if you had to say out of the two, who comes in to replace him?
Well, if Andrew Taylor is still in charge and sticks with the same formation, the right wing back, it would normally be Gooch, but he's injured. In which case, if Willis is still injured as well, I think you'd probably keep the back three as it is, because McLaughlin's been defending very well. And the issue with McLaughlin is that he's always been able to defend well. He's just not so good going forward. So maybe it's Dion Sanderson who starts at the right wing back. He could put Jack Diamond in there, but he should really be one of the forwards as opposed to a right wing back. So I'd like to see his name on the team sheet, but I don't think in that position. I'd imagine, as long as Willis is still not fit enough, I'd imagine he'll keep the same back three and put Sanderson in.
Yeah, I think we're crying out for a change of back four, even as someone who actually is a bit of a fan of the three-back system. Jay, I'm going to bring you back in. I know Wigan obviously haven't had a particularly good season so far. There was a player you mentioned there at the start, George Grant, I think. Normally I go away and do a bit of research on each team and try to find out who the main threats are, but unfortunately, there wasn't much to go off. Who would you say out of your squad's going to give us the most challenge on Saturday?
Well, for start, George Grant is a Lincoln City player. I just thought I'd give him a bit of credit because his free kick that he scored against us on Tuesday was unbelievable. The technique, the execution. I mean, the free kick leading up to it, it was very soft. So I know a lot of fans felt that we kind of deserved a little bit more, because unfortunately we've not had any lady luck this season. We've kind of had everything go against us. But, I think in terms of threats, the biggest one for me, there's a couple. I think Tom Pearce at left back, he's going to be a real good challenge, and he's very pacey. He's a very good athlete. His cross into the box will cause problems to defences at any level, really. We're just kind of hoping that our strikers can get on the end of it. And speaking of strikers, Cal Joseph, he's a young academy prospect. He's played for Scotland's youth sides throughout the years. He's been looked at by some really big clubs over the couple of seasons we've had him, and he made his debut a couple of weeks ago at Blackpool away, and he looked really good. And with some younger players, you can kind of tell that they kind of need a little bit more time before they make the step up to the senior game, because their bodies aren't as physically developed as older players in terms of your physique. But he's got a real presence about him, and I'm sure he'll enjoy playing against Sunderland and continue to get more game time, because I feel like once he gets his first goal, then they'll start coming in. Unfortunately, our biggest threat Joe Garner is on his way out. He scored 7 so far this season, but I believe he's on his way to Cyprus with Mick McCarthy at APOL, but we're kind of waiting for confirmation on that.
I was about to say Joe Garner will score, and when you hadn't mentioned him, I was wondering why. So that would make sense, because he's, when looking through your squad list here, I'd be worried about him. I don't really know what happened with Will Keane. Will Keane, I thought, would be a Premier League regular. Has he been playing for you? Is he injured?
He's out injured. He's out injured at the moment. Unfortunately for Will Keane, he's a very lovely player. I've always admired him as a footballer. He's got a lot of ability, but he's never had a consistent run of games. I think the max he's managed in a season's 30, which if you consider Premier League terms, that's great. That's the majority of the season, but he's really struggled to keep a consistent fitness and a clear injury record, which is a massive shame for him, because I remember watching him when he was young at Leeds Sports Village for United's youth setup, and he looked excellent. So it's a shame for him, really, that he's never been able to kick on further in his career, but he's a great player to have around. He's very experienced, and that's what we need for the younger players, because at the moment they're learning on the job. They're learning as the games go on, and I think Will Keane, Joe Garner when he was here, and Lee Evans, the Welsh international midfielder, they're very good at developing and helping the young players out. I know Cal Naismith too, Tom Pearce, the young left back, he told me yesterday that Cal Naismith is a role model to the players and the younger lads, which is great to hear, because you want to have that team spirit and you want to have that togetherness, and I think that's going to be key over the next couple of weeks.
One thing I like to ask every opposition fan we have on here, just so we know going into the game, what kind of formation and tactics do you tend to play? You use a 4-at-the-back team, long ball, what is it?
I knew this would come, and to be honest with you, it's very much whatever happens on the day. Unfortunately, we've never had. I think in this season we've not actually had 2 consistent starting 11s. We've had players injured, dropping out, obviously leaving, departing the club. So we've never had a consistent rhythm with the starting 11. So it's hard to tell. I know Liam Richardson, who was the number 2 to Paul Cook, they loved the 4-2-3-1 system. So I imagine we'd have liked to have set up in that formation, but recently we've been playing 4-4-2. So it just depends on who's playing on the day. I think on Tuesday actually we lined up. I can't remember the formation on the top of my head, but we had a really good side, to be honest. We're doing well considering the circumstances, and I think, coming to Sunderland on Saturday, it'll be a great occasion for the young lads. It's a massive shame that the fans won't be able to see it, because I imagine to go to a packed stadium light at their age, at their point of development, would have been an experience they'll always look back on, because as a footballer, you always want to play at those big grounds, at those big teams, and Sunderland, obviously a Premier League club. Back in the day, I remember growing up with Sunderland in the Premier League. I think they got promoted in the same year we did initially. My memory isn't so great at the moment, but
no, it did. It was us, you, and West Ham.
West Ham.
West Ham.
I don't know why I had Stoke in my head, but similar colours.
Maybe, yeah.
Brainwave.
This might seem like a bit of a daft question, but the main weak points we can exploit, or is it just that the entire squad's just going to be a bit younger, a bit weaker, and a bit slower?
I feel like having experienced players in the lineup will help Wigan, and I think for Sunderland, you've got a lot of good players at this level, so it doesn't really matter what Wigan do. Sunderland on paper should outclass Wigan. If you look at the quality you've got in your squad, 2 players we know well, Max Power, Will Grigg, Jack Diamond, a really good young prospect. I've always liked the look of him when I've seen him briefly. Chris Maguire, he's always been a player I've wanted to sign at Wigan, to be honest. I remember him at Oxford United, and he was always a real flair player. And I feel like on Saturday, Wigan just kind of need to go there with a siege mentality again, play with no fear. It doesn't really matter about the results. I think Wigan fans, to be honest, are just happy to see the effort levels. If we lose by a goal to nil like we did, well, not like we did on Tuesday, but if you just lose by a goal with a highly spirited performance, then it's an improvement. But it wouldn't surprise me if Wigan pull off a result on the other hand too, because I know Sunderland at the moment, they're in a bit of a situation too, like Wigan, they're currently managerless. I saw that the long-standing kit man was made redundant.
Yeah, it was shocking that, yeah.
I believe he was at the club for 26 years.
And he
Please correct
played
me
for
if
us
I'm wrong.
for about 7, I think, yeah.
Yeah. And I know he was quite a cult figure at Sunderland, so it's a big shame on that point of view, and it should be an interesting game. If I was going to give a prediction, which is probably one of your later questions, I think it's someone's going to win by the odd goal. I don't think it's going to have a flurry of goals, but no, I've said that it might be 2-2, 3-2. So let's hope for a good game nonetheless.
Well, knowing us and how we are lately and how things have come down to League One, it'll almost undoubtedly be 1-1. Tom, I'm going to ask you as well, but yeah, I want to ask you first. You mentioned 2 players there, Max Power and Will Grigg, obviously, who are with us now. I've made it clear that I'm not a big fan. I really don't like either of them, and I wouldn't have either of them in the team for myself. Tom, I can see a bit of a confused look on your face there, maybe. But one thing Will Grigg, I think, has struggled with is confidence. In your experience as a Wigan fan, obviously he did very well at you. Do you think he's a confidence player?
Very much so. He's a very confident lad naturally, and I think, unfortunately, he's never quite got going at Sunderland. I think as well, at the time when he joined Sunderland, it was a big money signing for the level, and I think as a player, they'll admit that it doesn't affect them, but I think it does have a psychological effect that you're going in, people know how much they pay for you, and people are expecting goals for the money they paid. And I unfortunately think that the system Sunderland have been playing haven't suited Will Grigg. He works better as a lone striker. He fries off opportunities, and if you give him half a chance, he should score. But I know he missed an open goal in his debut for Sunderland, so I feel like it was always a sour start for him. And you know, if Sunderland fans aren't happy with Max Power or Will Grigg, you know, I know one club who will be happy to take them both back. We're looking for a striker and a midfielder at the moment, so we'd happily take them both. But I think with Will Grigg, you've got to kind of unlock him, because once you get him firing, that's your ticket essentially to get out of this division. His track record at previous clubs speaks for itself, because not only did he score 20 in 2 seasons in League One for Wigan Athletic over a 3-year period, he scored 20, I think over 20 in the season before for MK Dons before we signed him from Brentford in 2015. But I think the main thing is if you play for it to his strengths, Willie's actually, the sets are quite strong, so I don't think people realise that his hold-up play is actually, from what I remember of him at Wigan, his hold-up play was really underrated. And I feel like with footballers, with Max Power as well, I know Sunderland fans, I watched a podcast previewing the game last night to do a bit of background on Sunderland, and I know Max Power's been quite frustrating for Sunderland fans, because he's got the ability there, but he's not been able to perform as well as you'd like him to. And I believe that they're both confidence players, so the main thing is to keep behind them, keep backing them, keep supporting them, because they love players thrive off confidence. It's a big thing for them, and if they've got your full backing of supporters and always have that full backing, they'll want to do everything they can for the shirt, and that's what you want really, because I know as a player, if I was getting tweeted dogs abuse on Twitter, I wouldn't be as enticed to play well for that said club. So you kind of have to consider the players from that point of view. So, you know, there's 2 warriors there, in my opinion. Will Grigg, Max Power. There's 2 people there who, if they're not playing so well on the day, you can kind of not fault their effort levels. They'll always put their all in. But, you know, I'm hoping that Will Grigg doesn't score on Saturday. But I could bet good money that he will.
Yeah, I mean, you shocked us there when you said one thing is always put their all in. One thing that really infuriates me about Will Grigg is the apparent lack of effort. I know you mentioned his hold-up play there, but another thing to me is that he always seems to come across as someone who, if he doesn't score, he's not going to really do anything in the game. I think we've got other strikers there. I know White's picked up an injury, but even with Danny Graham, I feel as if we've got 2 players in there who can offer us something in terms of a bit more effort, a bit more hold-up play. Tom, do you think going forward, the goal with a striker has got to get Will Grigg firing, or would you rather stick with Graham or White?
I think if we put 2 out-and-out strikers up, and which actually Parkinson sometimes did, he'd have 2 strikers and 1 just off them. There's definitely space for Grigg, and I've got a feeling that we don't know who the new manager will be, and we don't know what he'll think. But if this new manager comes in, there's a lot of games in December. You might say to Will Grigg, right, you've got all of December. You're going to start all of December. If it doesn't work out, I will help you move in January. If it does work out, you could be our key player. I think this month is his last chance. That's what I get the feeling.
Got to be
with Grigg, and I don't think anybody would agree, would argue with that. As for Max Power, I don't understand the abuse Max Power gets. I think Max Power's good. Never ever goes hiding. Always wants the ball. He's not scared to try he doesn't always just play this. There's nothing wrong with playing simple passes, but he sometimes will try to spray it from one side to the other if he thinks, if he gets it right, it's going to get us up the field and a chance of scoring. You can see how much, when you say that you're not sure how much effort Will Grigg puts in, you can see how much effort Max Power puts in. And when he scores, you can see how much it means to him. So he is definitely putting the effort in. And people are saying how they don't like how he's our captain. I think he's definitely a leader. I know that the players like him, respect him. So Power, I'm well behind. Will Grigg, I've just felt sorry for him a little bit, but I've got a feeling that this month might be the month that makes or breaks him. I think if he plays all month and he starts scoring, we've got the player we always wanted. If not, I think there might be a way out in January.
Yeah, I think you're right when you say it could make or break him. It's either going to be the month, well, that does make or break him. It's going to be the month that builds him up. He scores plenty of goals, he gets firing, and that's how he is for the rest of the season. Hopefully we'll go up in the top 2 and he has a Josh Madger-like half season, or this is his last chance, and if he doesn't make it this time, it doesn't work out. Jay, you also mentioned Paul Cook earlier. Definitely a player who I want to ask your opinion on as a Wigan fan, because to me he's promoted. He's worked with some of the players in our squad at the moment. Just briefly on Paul Cook, how did you rate him?
Just to add to your previous points as well, with Will Grigg, he is mainly a second half striker. We found in our times at Wigan, he usually does have quieter first half and starts firing in the second half of the season. So there is still hope that can happen. But with Paul Cook, he is one of the best managers that I've seen in my lifetime. He's a great manager. The players all loved him. The fans loved him. And you could see that he built a really good side for Wigan Athletic. If the administration didn't happen and in an alternative universe would have kept all of our players, I believe that we'd be in the top 6 of the championship this time right now. He is excellent at developing and improving players. I mean, if you look at some of the names on paper that he had, Cal Naismith, Gary Roberts, they're great players. There's no denying that. But to get them to perform how they did at championship level, that is a good achievement. He does get the best out of his players, and I feel like the big one for Sunderland, I actually personally believe they should go for Paul Cook. I know he has aspirations to manage a championship club, but I believe I've seen some daft suggestions of him going to other League One clubs, but I think if he is going to be tempted to move back down to League One, we were Sunderland, it's a big club. It's a great football place, and the 2 players we've discussed, Max Power and Will Grigg, he knows how to get the best out of them both. He got Will Grigg firing in our last season in League One. Granted, we did have a lot of creative players around, and then we had Nick Powell at League One, which is a bit like a cheat code. Michael Jacobs, who's at Portsmouth at the moment, he's a quality player. So I think Paul Cook will be an excellent appointment, in my opinion. I know a lot of Sunderland fans that I've seen on Twitter have almost got their noses up about it, because I believe they want a more glamorous name, but you cannot get a better appointment at this level than Paul Cook. Proven track record of promotion. He's gone up with Wigan, not much of a budget, consolidating that division. And then if the administration didn't happen, I believe that he'd have built a side that would have been pushing for promotion. That's the feeling that the players had from the ones I've spoken to on my podcast. Paul Cook as well, he's been a guest on my podcast too, and it was great to chat to him about his time at Wigan and his philosophies. And I believe that if any Sunderland fan, this isn't a shameless plug, but if they ever wanted to learn a little bit more about him, I'd recommend watching that, because it's great to hear about his philosophies. He's a big believer of the 4-2-3-1, and you can't question that Why? Because it's proven to be a winning formula, as we've seen at Wigan. He brought so many great memories to the town, to the club, and for me, I'll always be thankful for that. And we're actually hoping one day that Paul Cook would return for a second spell as manager. It's looking unlikely at the moment, but never say never in football.
Yeah, I'm just glad that we've managed to get a Wigan fan's perspective. I think that the fixtures come at quite a good time, really, because he's the man who I said that he would be my first choice initially, him or the Cowleys, and I just wanted to get a Wigan fan's perspective. There's a lot of Sunderland fans who seem to be against the idea of getting him in. I'm really not sure why. We are running ever so slightly out of time, so we are going to get on with the predictions. Jay, I can't remember what you said earlier, but what's your prediction for Saturday?
I'm going to actually sit on the fence and change my prediction, say 1-1.
Well, no one's son, and I probably will. Tom?
1-0 Wigan.
I like that one.
1-0 Wigan? The worst team in the league. Well, I'm going to go the complete opposite of that, and I'm going to go Sunderland 2, Wigan 0. I'd like to thank both Tom and Jay for coming on. Jay, I'll leave your podcast link in the description. Tom, is there anything you'd like to leave as your Twitter or anything? I'll drop that below. As I say, thanks to the both of you for coming on. Thanks to everyone for watching as well. Please remember to like the video, share it if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe if you can. We're trying to hit 150 by the end of the year. That would be absolutely fantastic if I could. And I'll see you later.